Wild hogs wreak havoc all across Central Florida. The pigs cause big problems for homeowners.
And trappers in Brevard County are getting creative and finding new ways to catch them.
Night after night, an invisible army crosses fences and tears through fields. By dawn, crops lie shredded. Soil is churned into craters, and families face ruin. The attackers are wild boars, smart, tough, and multiplying fast. Across Brazil, farmers say a low-tech idea is finally turning the tide. The boar invasion. Wild boars are among the world's most destructive invasive species. Native to parts of Europe, Asia, and North Africa, they were moved by people for farming and sport, then escaped or were released. In Brazil, the problem began in the late 1980s and early 1990s, when imported boars interbred with domestic pigs, producing hardy, highly fertile hybrids. Populations exploded. Today, they occupy all 6 of Brazil's major natural regions, from the Atlantic forest to the dry Cerrado savannas, and have been recorded in about 20% of municipalities, with much more territory still at risk. The pattern is global. Wild pigs now roam at least 54 countries. The United States has an estimated 6 to 10 million across 35 states, with dense populations in Texas, Florida, and California. Canada's prairies are seeing rapid spread. Australia may have nearly as many wild boars as people, around 24 million. Wherever they arrive, they adapt, breed quickly, and overwhelm landscapes and farms. Boars thrive because they are generalists built for survival. They tolerate heat, cold, drought, and floods. Long snouts let them dig deep, flipping soil and ripping up roots like living plows. They eat almost anything: seeds, crops, invertebrates, carrion, even small animals. Their rooting releases large amounts of carbon stored in soil. In Brazil's already diminished Atlantic forest, scientists estimate boar rooting releases nearly 5 million tons of CO2 each year, the equivalent of more than 1 million cars. They also devour rare plants and scatter seed banks, pushing species such as the iconic Paraná pine closer to the edge. This is not only a farm problem, it is an ecological one with climate consequences. Farms under siege. For farmers, the invasion is a daily emergency. Boars rarely come as a single animal. Herds dozens strong can erase months of work in a few hours. Corn, soybeans, beans, cassava, and sugarcane are favorite targets, but almost any crop will do. Sunrise reveals rows of uprooted stalks, soil churned like trenches, and cobs chewed to the core. A single night's raid can destroy thousands of dollars worth of crops. For small and mid-sized farms, that can mean the difference between survival and bankruptcy. The harm doesn't stop at loss of yield. Repeated rooting destroys fertile soil layers that took years to build, dries out or muddies irrigation channels, and crushes saplings before they establish. Fields raided again and again can become unplantable. Livestock is at risk too. While boars forage primarily on plants and invertebrates, they may attack calves, lambs, or poultry when hungry or threatened. Some regions reported losing hundreds of calves annually before stronger defenses were in place. Disease adds another layer of threat. Boars can carry classical swine fever, brucellosis, tuberculosis, leptospirosis, and more pathogens that can infect domestic herds and sometimes people. For families working close to soil, animals, and water, health risks rise alongside financial losses. Meanwhile, the ecological pressure compounds in the Atlantic forest. Boars uproot native seedlings and devour critical seeds, undermining natural regeneration. The result is a siege economically and ecologically with no guaranteed respite. Once a herd discovers a farm, why defenses fail. If boars were merely numerous, they would be formidable. What makes them extraordinary opponents is intelligence. Studies place them among the smartest non-primate mammals. They learn quickly, solve problems, and share knowledge within family groups led by experienced sows. Each failed human tactic teaches survivors what to avoid next time. Electric fencing shows the pattern. At first, shocks deter contact. Soon, boars push stones or branches against the wires to test for current. Hearing the snap, they back off. Hearing nothing, they slip through. Some smear mud until the line sags low enough to jump. What starts as a solution becomes a puzzle they learn to solve. Traps struggle for the same reason. Baited cages often catch only a few animals, before the herd understands the danger. Observers have seen boars manipulate gates and free companions. Once a trap is marked as risky by the group, its usefulness collapses. Hunting pressure changes behavior rather than numbers. Herds go nocturnal, hide in thicker cover, and become more elusive. Success rates stay stubbornly low, often just a few percent, and can scatter animals into new areas, spreading the problem. Even high-cost tactics have limits. Aerial culling from helicopters, used in parts of Texas and Queensland, is more efficient than ground hunting in open country, but it is expensive and impractical for smallholders or rugged terrain. Modern technology, government campaigns, and traditional hunting offer brief relief, then fade as boars adapt. In that vacuum, rural communities turn to farmer hacks. People scatter hair from barbershops along field edges, pour human urine, hang cloths soaked with cologne, or use synthetic predator scents like wolf urine. Some spread mothballs or cigarette butts, or leave radios blaring to simulate human presence. These tricks can work for a night or two, but rain washes scents away. Animals habituate to noise, and strong odors lose their power. The hacks show creativity and grit, but none reliably stop a learning adversary. The ditch solution, the breakthrough spreading across Brazil, is strikingly simple. One farmer in the south, facing wave after wave of destruction, tried reshaping the battlefield instead of wiring it. He dug a ditch around his field roughly 3 to 5 feet deep and about 27 inches wide, piling the excavated soil inward to form a gentle slope on the crop side. The goal was not to injure animals, but to block their approach. Boars, despite strength and agility, struggled to leap a clean gap of that width and depth. Those that attempted risked dropping in and retreating on the wrong side away from the crop. When the next herd arrived, it paced the new boundary instead of pouring through rows of corn. Some fell in, turned around and left, most simply gave up. The farmer who had watched seasons vanish in a few nights suddenly protected as much as 90% of his harvest. Word spread. Neighbors came to see. Videos of boars halted at the lip of the trench circulated on social media. After years of failed gadgets and tactics, a quiet maintenance light barrier appeared to work. Imitation followed. From Paraná to São Paulo and Minas Gerais, ditches began to rim fields. On small plots, families dug by hand. On large farms, machinery cut longer lines. Some reinforced embankments with wire mesh to reduce erosion, adjusted depths and widths for local soils, or integrated the trench with hedges and terrace lines. The key was consistency. Unlike traps, ditches do not rely on timing. Unlike fences, they do not need power or constant testing. Unlike scent hacks, they do not wear off in the rain. They simply exist day and night. Officials noticed too. Technically, Brazil requires permits for significant earthworks, including trenches. But as evidence grew that the ditch defense saved crops and local economies, some enforcement relaxed in practice. Farmers argued the trenches were essential for food security, not just property protection. Reports of millions of dollars in avoided losses strengthened the case. For many, the deeper change was psychological. After years of depending on outside solutions, farmers felt in control again, building a defense that matched the problem. The ditch is not magic. It takes planning, labor, and sometimes heavy equipment. Costs can climb with fuel and skilled operators. Rain can fill trenches, creating standing water that must be drained to avoid mosquito breeding and disease risk. Slopes erode and vegetation clogs weak points unless maintained. Fields need raised crossings for vehicles, which add complexity and expense. Non-target wildlife can fall in and require rescue. None of these challenges are trivial, but compared with the recurring costs and disappointments of fencing, trapping, or constant patrols, many farmers see the trade-offs as manageable. Beyond Brazil, the idea sparks debate. Could networks of farm-level ditches help in North America, where wild pig numbers keep rising despite decades of hunting? In Australia, could trenching protect high-value fields where terrain allows, complementing other controls? Kansas once showed eradication is possible with coordinated statewide action, but few places can replicate that scale. The ditch offers a decentralized tool. Each landowner can act, and the sum of many trenches can form a patchwork shield across a landscape. The lesson is larger than a line in the dirt. Wild boars win by being adaptable generalists. Effective defenses must be robust, simple, and hard to learn around. A trench answers all three. It requires no electricity, no bait, no special timing. It presents the same problem every night, and it turns the boar's strengths, courage, and numbers, curiosity, persistence, into liabilities at a physical barrier they cannot easily solve. Farmers still experiment at the margins, adding short fence runs above trench edges, planting thorny hedges along the inner slope, or shaping V-profiles that shed water faster during the rainy season. Some communities pool equipment and share operators to reduce costs. Others sketch trench lines to avoid wildlife corridors and place escape ramps for non-target animals. The result is not a single blueprint, but a family of designs tuned to local soil, weather, budget, and farm layout. None of this means the war is over. Boars spread fast, learn faster, and pressure never disappears. But in a fight long defined by desperate improvisation and short-lived wins, the ditch changes the math. It protects fields more consistently than most alternatives, restores confidence to plant vulnerable crops again, and buys time for better regional policies and landscape-level controls. Sometimes the strongest answer is not the most advanced. It's the one that works when the sun goes down and the herd arrives. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Epoch Dive for more amazing documentaries.